Lecture 1, Man and Civilization. In this lecture, we will focus on two fundamental realities that are foundational to this course, man and civilization. We will begin with the Catholic concept of what, or more properly, who man is. Then we will take a critical look at the discoveries of paleoanthropology, coming from two Greek words meaning the science of ancient men. In doing this, the following prehistoric ages will be introduced: Paleolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, and Iron Age. Since the Iron Age is generally considered the last era of prehistorical, before human history was recorded by writing, we will then shift our attention to the study of civilization. The English word of civilization is based on the Latin word civis. A civis was considered someone who lived in a city, civitas. The study of civilization, therefore, means literally the study of people living in community, specifically cities. Cities and their civilizations are born, decline, and sometimes are regenerated. Explanation of why this occurs greatly varies. Man. Knowing who we are is essential when studying Eastern civilization, or any civilization for that matter, from a Catholic perspective. According to official Catholic teaching, man is not simply different in degree from animals. Rather, we are different in kind. In other words, we are not merely highly evolved animals. Our ability to reason is not only due to a slow process of evolution in which consciousness gradually developed. This does not mean that all evolutionary theories are necessarily incompatible with Catholic belief. As far back as the 1950s, Pope Pius XII in his encyclical letter Humani Generis affirmed that some evolutionary theories are not contrary to Catholic teaching, as long as it is believed that at one point in time God infused a soul into the first man and first woman. And in the transcript I provide the important excerpts from his encyclical letter. Due to the infusion of the soul, human beings are different in kind from animals who do not have a spiritual soul, and consequently lack the ability to reason. As Homo sapiens, that is, wise men, we are called to an end we cannot obtain by our own efforts. In order to attain our final end in heaven, experienced by the beatific vision, we need the help of divine grace. This final cause profoundly distinguishes us from non-rational animals. Prehistoric Eras. Prehistory refers to the period of time prior to written records. Note well that the absence of written historical records does not mean that all prehistorical ages are prior to the invention of writing. This time is typically broken up into three periods: Stone Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age. The Stone Age is divided into the Old Stone Age and the New Stone Age. During the last two ages, the Bronze and Iron Ages, writing was invented and developed. The dates used for all of these eras are approximate. Old Stone Age, or Paleolithic Age. During the Old Stone Age, and it's approximately 2.5 million years to 8,000 BC, human beings, or in accordance with evolutionary theory, early hominids, were not nomadic. They obtained their food by hunting and gathering, hence the name nomadic hunter-gatherers. In their struggle for survival, these nomads used fire, clothing, and tools. Around 1 million years ago, the West Asian and African nomads, through a series of migrations, reached East Asia. New Stone Age, Neolithic Age. In the Neolithic Age, ranging from 8,000 to 3,000 BC approximately, some people settled down and began to farm, raise animals, and grow grain. Weapons for warfare were also made and used during this period. During the last phase of the Neolithic Age, it was discovered how to use copper for tools. The Copper Age, or Chalcolithic Age, was replaced by the Bronze Age. Bronze Age. The main distinctive feature of the Bronze Age, and the Bronze Age lasted approximately from 3000 to 1000 BC, was smelting of both copper and tin in order to combine two metals to create bronze, a metal that is harder than copper. During this age, writing was invented. Some of the earliest evidence of Asian writing are the oracle bones, upon which are inscribed the most ancient known Chinese characters. Iron Age. During the Iron Age, and began around 300 years before the birth of Christ, iron was smelted and then shaped into tools or weapons. Agricultural techniques continued to advance in this age. Civilization, strengths, and weaknesses. There are a variety of explanations for the births, declines, and renewals of the various civilizations that make up Eastern civilization. We will look at three ancient Eastern explanations represented by Confucius, Lao Tzu, and Han Feizi. These three men are considered founders of Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism, which we will study in subsequent lectures. The Chinese philosopher Confucius held that a strong civilization depends on people living out their designated hierarchical role in society by the observance of virtue, especially the following: benevolence, filial piety, integrity, loyalty, honesty, reverence, respect, and ritual decorum. Lao Tzu, lived 500 BC, is credited with writing the Tao Te Ching. This is not certain since there's little evidence that Lao Tzu existed. The Tao Te Ching rejected the idea that active pursuit of virtue, especially by political leaders, strengthens civilization. Rather, according to this document, if human beings are allowed and encouraged to follow their goodness by uniting themselves in natural order called the Way, the Tao, the result will be harmony among people and with nature. In accordance with the particular concept of the feminine nature, rulers, consequently, should be more passive than active. Reflecting this belief, the Tao Te Ching states, and this is verse 32, "The Tao is eternal, one with the second, simple indeed, yet so subtle that no one can master it. If princes and kings could just hold it, all things would flock to their kingdom, heaven and earth would rejoice, and with the drippings of sweet dew, everyone would live in harmony, not by official degree, but by their own inner goodness." If we go to verse 57, a state may be ruled by correction. Weapons of war may be used with crafty dexterity, but the kingdom is made one's own only by freedom from action and purpose. How do I know that this is so? By these facts. In the kingdom, the multiplication of prohibitive enactments increases the poverty of the people. The more implements to add to their profit that the people have, the greater disorder is there in the state and clan. The more acts of crafty dexterity that men possess, the more do strange contrivances appear. The more display there is of legislation, the more thieves and robbers there are. Therefore a sage has said, "I will do nothing of purpose, and the people will be transformed of themselves. I will be fond of keeping still, and the people will of themselves become correct. I will take no trouble about it, and people of themselves become rich. I will manifest no ambition, and people will of themselves attain to primitive simplicity." If we go to the Tao Te Ching, verse 61, what makes a great state is its being like a low-lying, down-flowing stream. It becomes a center to which tend all the small states under heaven. To illustrate, from the case of all females, the female always overcomes the male by her stillness. Stillness may be considered a certain abasement. Thus it is that a great state, by condescending to small states, gains them for itself, and that small states, by abasing them to a great state, win it over to them. In the one case, the abasement leads to gaining adherents, in the other case, to procuring favor. The great state only wishes to unite men together and nourish them. A small state only wishes to be received by and to serve the other. Each gets what it desires, but the great state must learn to abase itself. Han Feizi, lived from 280 to 233 BC, was an ancient Chinese philosopher, identified with the school known as legalism. According to legalism, the strength of a civilization depends not on the virtue of its members, nor on a live and let live attitude of leaders, but rather on the enforcement of uniform laws made by a strong leader. What is essential to legalism is that the leader centralizes power in himself and enforces laws vigorously. Whether he is virtuous or values passivity is of less importance. This is what Han Feizi said on law, or wrote on law. The law no more makes exceptions for men of high station than the plumb line bends to accommodate a crooked place in the wood. What the law has decreed the wise man cannot dispute, nor the brave man venture to contest. When faults are to be punished, the highest minister cannot escape. When good is to be rewarded, the lowest peasant must not be passed over. Hence, for correcting the faults of superiors, chastising the misdeeds of subordinates, restoring order, exposing error, checking excess, remedying evil, and unifying the standards of the people, nothing can compare to law. For putting fear into officials, awing the people, wiping out wantonness and sloth, and preventing lies and deception, nothing can compare to penalties. If penalties are heavy, men dare not use high position to abuse the humble. If laws are clearly defined, superiors will be honored and their rights will not be invaded. If they are honored and their rights are inviolable, then the ruler will be strong and will hold fast to what is essential. Hence, the former kings held laws in high esteem and handed them down to posterity. End of quote. The Catholic understanding of what makes a civilization strong and last includes the observance of law, the practice of virtue, the ability to contemplate, and reliance on reality that transcends this world called grace. Catholicism agrees with Confucius and Lao Tzu that human nature is essentially good, but also shares, along with Han Feizi, a distrust of human nature's ability to be good. For Catholics, this distrust does not stem from a belief that men are innately self-centered and amoral, but rather stems from an acknowledgement of original and personal sin. In order for an individual and civilizations to develop properly, therefore, humans need to cooperate with grace that builds upon, augments, and transforms their good natures, which are wounded but not destroyed by sin. This grace, which ultimately comes through Christ, is received in prayer and actualized by virtue. God bless.